Good afternoon, guys. It's Marshall's Minute for this week. And so, let's jump into it. This week, a theme about honest commitment has been showing up a lot for me. So last week, we're talking about, being aligned with happiness, building on the awareness that I've been gaining about my own direction in my life beyond the trauma, beyond codependency, beyond the idea of having a necessity or significance about certain things in life. And this has really brought me to a place where I get objective about looking at what I'm committing to in my life. And that's what I've been examining a fair bit this week with myself, is what kind of what are my commitments, and how aligned are they with what I want? How are they adding to my happiness? How are they adding to my goal, right? Or to the experience I want to have on a normal basis. Some of this comes from the Brilliance of You mastermind stuff, is that we don't really go for goals like endpoints. We go for experiences we can repeat, and not necessarily a physical experience, but something that would be more energetic or emotional. And in moving through my awareness, I actually had a closure session with one of my apprentices last week, and that closure really brought out this kind of, I call it bitey, but very assertive aspect of myself that had been suppressed for some time. And it's made me a little more bold in how I feel, bold in how I act and what I choose. And it's brought me to this place of what I would call honestly committing to something. Like, what am I choosing, and am I really genuinely, emotionally, and in my heart committed to this thing? And when we're not, that's a really important signal that we're not in alignment with ourselves. That doesn't necessarily mean what we're committing to has to change, but maybe it has something to do with how we approach that commitment. So in this business, in doing mentoring and coaching, doing this kind of practice, there's a lot of accountability, and there's a lot of responsibility on my part to approach things a specific way. And in fact, today I sent out an email with a title that says "The Slap That Shut Me Up," and I realized when I read that could probably be triggering. So that's something I have to look at. It's like I need to slow down the way I interpret or put things out there sometimes, because my bold self also needs to be balanced with the proper communication for the boldness, right? And so there's some awareness coming in with that, but it's really about that commitment. How am I committing to this? How am I dealing with, namely, with responsibility? And a lot of times with us, we can struggle a lot with responsibility because we become overly responsible. We absorb other people through responsibility, like their emotions, their results, their satisfaction, their happiness with ourselves or with whatever they're doing. And that's where the pleaser in me tends to show up. It's like, we got to do it all so people are happy. And it's been an interesting challenge to move out of pleasing and move towards commitment instead, and going, what am I willing to commit to? What are my rules here? What are my limits? What are my boundaries? And I define those limits and boundaries based on what brings me joy. And this is what I discovered that was actually really enlightening to me, is that I believed that commitment led to a loss of freedom. And freedom is an extremely important priority for me in my life. And so I've been taking a lot of time this week exploring the idea of how freedom and commitment can support each other. And it's helped me see where I've had a little over responsibility for particular things in my clients' lives, students' lives, my children's life, friends, and where I might need to come back to ownership, returning ownership to me about what's mine and giving back to them what's theirs. And that's where this boldness really came in. It's like, hey, it's okay if someone is upset or disappointed or has a different point of view. And there's nothing you need to do about that. There's nothing you must or should do about that. But if there's something you want to, then follow that priority. And this opened up a lot of emotional freedom for me. Now I didn't have to constantly double check myself to make sure I'm doing X, Y, or Z the right way so that X person will be this way or Y person will be that way. It's more like, what am I attempting to communicate or do? What's the objective here, and how does that align with my priorities? Or how do my priorities, like my priority of freedom and connection and effectiveness, how do they align with this, and how do they influence what I'm doing? And that allowed me to make a lot of change in what I'm doing. It allowed me to break free. And so that's what I've been exploring this week, is how commitment can feed freedom and freedom can feed commitment by understanding how to align commitment using my priorities. And so that might be a little combobulated, but that's what's been coming up in my awareness, my own growth, is to make an honest commitment, I need to show up in a certain way. And I need to show up emotionally with some integrity, or a high level of integrity, to what I desire to accomplish. What is going to bring me joy? And so that's brought about some changes in how I am going to manage my company, how we're going to manage the group. Not real big changes in the group, mostly visual changes so things are clearer and cleaner. And then just for me, prioritizing my energy and who I invest in personally and professionally, things like that. So it's pretty cool to watch how this awareness that we started talking about a few episodes ago is really blossoming into this deep connection back to reality, and how it expands us and empowers us. And it's expanding and empowering me and my bigger goals for helping more people just like you and I find their happiness, find their freedom, as well as find and honor my own freedom. So that's what's been going on in my life, guys. I appreciate you watching. I look forward to talking to you guys again next week. Make sure you post any questions you got in the group. Enjoy the group. Take advantage of the resources that are available to you there and have fun. Have a good weekend. Go out and play. And I'll talk with you guys next week. Good night. Bye. Bye-bye, guys.